All right, thank you for coming back. Our next presenter is Shari Thurow. She's a director at the Information Architecture Institute, and the way that I got to know Shari was many years ago when the first edition of her book, which is called Search Engine Visibility, came out from New Riders. It's got an orange cover and sort of a seeing eye chart design on the cover. I remember reading that book for the first time because I was curious about search engine optimization, and I was a little bit pissed off because it was a book about information architecture. And so I started giving that book to people and saying, well, this information architecture and search engine optimization, not a lot of people talk about them as being connected to the same principles, but this woman, Shari, knows about this. So here's a book. It's not just about SEO. It's about how information architecture is a powerful way to do SEO work. So without further ado, please welcome from Chicago, Shari Thurow.
Hello. I actually enjoyed that video very, very much because my master's degree is in Japanese, Asian Studies Japanese, and I used to teach at the religion department at University of Illinois and University of Hawaii. So I'm more than familiar with that book, and I thought it was brilliant. So we're going to come back to this because this is what Peter wrote in the foreword of my third book, and I deeply appreciate it, and I also deeply appreciate that he had an insight that I didn't have myself. I like to write books. I'm an academic at heart, but the one thing I am is an SEO. I am an SEO, I'm an information architect, I'm a usability specialist, and I am one of the evil web developers that you will get in arguments with. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about architecting search engine friendly websites, and I have a very different perspective than most SEOs or search engine optimizers have. One of them is its definition. So I'm going to go over what search engine optimization is and is not, and I'm going to have some funny examples, hopefully, and go over what the 4 fundamental building blocks are. And this is something I've been saying for over 17 years, is I really don't give a rat's ass about Google's Plus. I don't give a rat's ass about Twitter. I really don't, even though I have a Twitter account. If you don't do these 4 basic building blocks for SEO, forget it. You're playing the cat and mouse game. You have this foundation, and the foundation is a strong information architecture. You're going to make your content on your websites easy to find, not only from Google's perspective, but also from your site's search engine perspective. And then I'm going to go over what I teach SEOs about information architecture and things they need to remember. And then the tough pill to swallow that I really have been dying to say to information architects since 1995. So if we have any questions and answers, and I've been called every name in the book. I've been called a royal bitch, and you Google my name, you'll see it. My attitude towards that is cool. I'm royal. Give me a crown. I like Swarovski crystals. So I'm immune to criticism. I've been criticized so much. And that's because I hate search engine spam. I hate search engine spam so much that I turn it in on a regular basis. So if you're my client, your competitors are spamming, I'm turning them in, and I don't care if they get banned. I hate it when people make it difficult for others to find desired content, and if it means getting rid of their site in the search engines, I'll do it. And I don't do the banning, Google does. So why should we as information architects care about search engine optimization? This rule is simple. People search. It's gotten to the point where people search as much as they email, and I think it's foolhardy to ignore it. So let's talk about SEO. And I begin with a quiz because I like to teach, and my mom's a teacher. She's better than me, though. She's a special ed teacher. She teaches autistic children. Is this website search engine friendly? How many people think it is? How many people think it's not? Why?
There's no content.
There's no content. Okay, what do you think they sell? Fish. Brilliant. They've updated their site. Is it search engine friendly? Why? For web pages, search engines ignore alt text. For image search, they don't. For web page search, they do. So, is this page search engine friendly? I would say not, because it's a restaurant. It's a French seafood restaurant, and at least the title tag is better than here and then here. Okay, so I love picking on restaurants because they really don't get it. So I'm really happy that Bobo at least used the word restaurant, but there's no text on this page. And Le Bernardin did the right thing. At least they put the phone number on here, but they just put restaurant. But what kind of restaurant is it? Where is this restaurant? Bad, bad, bad. French Laundry, very, very important restaurant. And look at their title tag, the French Laundry. Very good. Menus are important to people. Reservations are important to people. These words need to be on the page, and they also need to be in your titles. So let's move on to another one. How many of you think this page is search engine friendly? How many of you don't? All right, the person that don't, you get a cookie. Why isn't this search engine friendly? And I'm going to pick on Dan. Why?
My theory would be the hierarchy of elements on the page doesn't put content that is search engine readable up high enough in the hierarchy.
Absolutely. I mean, this is Flash. And I love Flash. I'm a designer developer. Of course, I love Flash. But people ignore that. And according to this website, highlights, news, and events are more important than the products and services that they have to sell. That's exactly what they're communicating to the search engine. So they redesigned it. And according to them, news and events and featured products, that's an improvement. But they still have the obnoxious Flash. And I am not kidding you. We actually usability tested this site, and it was the shortest usability test I've ever done. They were, what were they? They were managers in charge of IT, and they had to make, 6 figures plus a year. And basically, we showed them the home page, gave them the task, and do you know what? I'm going to try not to swear, but don't show me this effing Flash. I hate this effing Flash. And it was the end of the usability test. Task completion was 0. Yet they still, on both versions of their site, continue to have the Flash. I'm so proud of them. What about this site? Is this site more search engine friendly? How many of you think it is? How many of you think it's not? This is actually search engine spam. And that's one of the reasons I'm showing it, because you can't tell what search engine spam is just by looking at it. Search engine spam is basically deliberately tricking search engines into giving inappropriate results. And the reason we figured this out, well, we figured it out because they got banned and we had to help them get unbanned, is they had a sitemap to all these different doorway pages. And this was done by one of the largest, most popular search engine firms in the United States. So do SEOs to a point deserve their bad reputation? I would say yes. Apple is my example. No surprise, of one of the most search engine friendly e-commerce sites. Mayo Clinic would be an example of one of the most search engine friendly non-e-commerce sites. So is search engine optimization optimizing for search engines? No. Because if this definition were true, then this is the type of web page that would rank, make millions of dollars, and are any of you developers? Can you make this look hot? I can make this look hot. But it doesn't matter, because search engines want what users want. It has always been that way. When back in the day, 94, 95, when Alta Vista and InfoSeek were around, that's what search engines wanted. And that's one of the reasons SEOs got a bad reputation, is they kept doing crap like this and just making it good looking. So we have this bad reputation, and one of the reasons we have this bad reputation is some of us are snake oil, and some of us still continue to believe that SEO is optimizing for search engines only. In reality, search engine optimization is optimizing for people who use search engines. So it is a merging of a user and a search interface. And the people who get the user part as well as the technology part are the best SEOs on the planet. So that's something to remember. SEO is optimizing for people who use search engines. And I'm not only referring to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. I'm also referring to site search engines. SEO is also not magical fairy dust. And I, to this day, am asked to do the magical fairy dust thing. So I'm going to have my cartoonist draw me as Shari the SEO fairy because I get asked it so often. Okay, when I'm done with my website, can you make me #1 on Google for cancer? Yes, I can, but I would get your site banned. I'm not going to. And by the way, they wanted it yesterday. SEO has never been like that. SEO takes time because information architecture is involved. But you would be surprised at the people that think SEO is still putting meta tags on web pages. Google has never used meta tags except in videos for ranking purposes. SEO is far more detailed than that. We're going to go into that. So SEO is optimizing a website for people who use search engines, and the definition as it pertains to the websites is architecting, designing, writing, programming, so it increases the chance that it will appear at the top of search results when it's appropriate. So there are people who are search engine friendly copywriters. There are people who are search engine friendly programmers. Search engine friendly information architects. God, I would love more of you on this planet. You'd be the best SEOs on the planet as far as I'm concerned. SEO professionals are concerned with labeling content. That's exactly what a title tag is. It's a label. What is a heading? It's a label. What is text in a navigation button? It's a label. SEOs are concerned that you're using the right words in your labels. They're interested in organizing content so that the aboutness of the web page is clear to both humans and to search engines. Text at the top of the page is considered more important than text at the bottom of the page because that's a text that people are going to read first. They want to ensure that search engines have access to that content, and they also want to ensure search engines don't have access to certain content. One example would be faceted. Everybody I know right now who thinks the next best thing is facets don't realize that facets are a nightmare to search engines. It's duplicate content gone wild. I'm going to do a nice little naughty video called Duplicate Content Gone Wild because it's that bad. And that might be the only way to get people's attention. And search engine optimization doesn't only apply to web search engines. If you're really good at web SEO, you're going to find something out pretty amazing, that your site search results are going to be more accurate as well. These are the 4 building blocks of SEO. Text, links, popularity, behaviors. Text, links, popularity, behaviors. Learn it, love it, know it, repeat after me, take it to your mother, make her repeat it. These are the 4 building blocks, and they really haven't changed, and they're not going to change. So remember these things, and if you can do these 4 things on your website, they're going to be search engine friendly. So the first thing is keywords. You do have to use the words and phrases that people type into search engines. I'm not saying that you have to keyword stuff everything. And search engines ignore some text and they pay attention to others. The most important texts that SEOs are concerned with are the title tag, the HTML title tag, and this is on a web page. We're interested in your content, what's at the top of the screen, because it's weighted. And we're also interested in your URL structure, because that is how you can prevent or minimize search engines from accessing your content. Well, a URL is a label. And one of the things that drives me crazy when I'm wearing my information architecture hat is people let the tech team decide the URL structure. And I'm going, the tech team deciding what labels are? No. I don't think that's a good idea. I think the tech team should work with information architects and come up with a URL structure that makes sense to users. And we're going to see a reason why for this very shortly. We're also concerned with how the page is laid out, what the navigation scheme is, because this is the way that search engines determine aboutness. They don't only determine aboutness by content, they also determine aboutness with navigation and how pages are linked to each other outside of a formal navigation. They're looking at the text on top of the page. They're looking at the words you're using when you link pages to each other. And that actually helps determine ranking. So this is something we call on-the-page criteria, because that's what we as website owners have complete control over. And one of the things that I find very interesting is, people think Google revolutionized SEO because link development suddenly became important. But link development was important long before Google came around. SEOs were doing link development back in '94. Google just popularized it. Well, you can say all you want about your website and have an awesome information architecture, but Google and the other search engines are saying, okay, prove it. If you're saying this, what do others have to say about your content, and how do they interact with it? So these two things are called off-the-page criteria. Link development, in a nutshell, is the number and quality of links pointing to a website or pointing to a URL. Quality has always trumped quantity. Always. I mean, when WebMD's my client now, but back, about 10 years ago, they weren't. And we were able to outperform WebMD with 25 links. It doesn't take that much. You just have to get the right links. And social media is just an easier way of doing link development. It's a social signal. So, are others saying the same or similar things that you are saying about your own content? And if they are, then on-the-page criteria and off-the-page criteria support each other. And when they support each other, that's when you have a site that gets qualified search engine traffic over time. The next thing is something that a lot of SEOs don't know, and that's searcher goals. People have very, very specific goals when they go to a web search engine. And Google talks about this in their quality guidelines. Go, no, do. People want to go to a specific website, they want to learn more about something, or they want to perform some activity. These are called navigational, informational, and transactional queries. Navigational queries are more important than you think they are. A navigational query is a query where somebody wants to go to a specific website, or they want to return to a website they once previously visited. And guess what? People rarely look past positions 1 and 2. And this is true in mobile, and it's true in tablets. They rarely look past positions 1 and 2. So search engines work really, really hard to determine which keywords are navigational. And they put those in the number 1, number 2, and number 3 positions. And you can usually tell a navigational set of keywords if you see these. These are called site links appearing. So that's something we always look for is, do people's sites or do people's web pages rank appropriately for navigational queries? And if they don't, maybe the information architecture, the labeling might need some work. Informational queries are the most common type of search engine query. Up to 80% of search engine queries are informational, and up to 33% are navigational. Whenever you see the evil Wikipedia, and the only reasons SEOs call them evil Wikipedia is they don't get the number 1 position. But once you see Wikipedia appearing in search results, you know that those keywords show informational intent. Now, there is a word in this keyword phrase here that indicates informational intent, and that's the word where. It's a question word. What kind of pages naturally contain questions? FAQs. When people type in the plural form of a word, what are they likely looking for? A list. What kind of web page is naturally a list? A category page or a subcategory page. Other types, when the word review is an informational query. Sometimes people want a quick fact. And they're far more common than you'd realize. With a navigational query, what people are looking at is the URL. They're not really URL right here. They're really not reading this. With an informational query, people really aren't interested in the URL. They're more interested here in the title and the snippet. Sometimes the snippet comes from the meta tag description, sometimes it comes from page content, sometimes it's a combination. The least common type of search engine query is a transactional query, and the strange thing about transactional queries is people don't always type in a keyword that they expect to see on a page. If people have transactional intent for shopping, they do expect the words add to cart or add to bag on the page. When people want to watch a video, they don't type in the word watch. They do type in the word video. When people want to look at pictures, they type in the word picture, but Google also does something else. They also do term highlighting for synonyms. And so Google's trying to accommodate transactional intent by putting images and videos at the top of the page, or at least on page 1. And Google, Yahoo, and Bing, before Bing was Bing, it was, what is it, MSN Live, whatever it's going to be. They've been doing this since the mid-90s. And they're trying to get better. SEOs don't necessarily make it easy, but searchers also don't make it easy either because they don't enter keyword queries that show their informational intent. And the goal of an SEO is to balance business goals with user expectations. So let's look at a site that I am particularly fond of. So United.com, what kind of query is this? Navigational, informational, transactional? It's navigational. Why? Because you see .com in there. So this searcher clearly wants to go to the FAQs page. So there it is, number 1 position, good navigational query. This is the landing page that you get. Services and information. Where are the FAQs? You want to know what the response to this in every usability test I've ever done? That. I have heard that phrase more than any other phrase. When I first started usability testing, I thought I had to leave the room because I was laughing my head off. And they give the face, too. I know that face. It's one of my favorite sites, too, because I have to get my knee replaced. So this is Bob. I'm going to name my new knee Bob. And when I fly, I have to have a wheelchair. And that's because O'Hare is huge. Do you know what section the wheelchair category is under? Dan saw this. It's under the page not available category. And I should have saved the screenshot, but it was great. But that's what happens when you don't make things easy to find. WTF. And what do they think of your company? Are they going to hand you their credit card? Are they going to enroll in your class? Are they going to trust you? So search engine optimization, as much as there are snake oil people in there, really what we're trying to do is make things easy to find and easy to use, which is exactly what you want to do. We do want the number 1 position in your search results to be the right page. And that's something I've noticed in the past 17 years, is that sites that are extremely well optimized for Google and Yahoo and Bing happen to have accurate site search results. And that's because the information architecture is well done. So let's look at information architecture and how I teach SEOs about it. Now, I have tried, if Peter's in the room, I have really tried to use the Polar Bear book, and there's how can I put it? I'm glad that a lot of SEOs aren't blonde because they make me look bad. They don't understand this. So I had to simplify it, and I actually found the best definition from the IAI. Organization, art and science of organizing, labeling, content to support usability and findability. SEOs get that. Like, great! Do they know what usability is? And I'm not kidding you. Last conference. This is a cell phone. I use it. That's usability. I'm like, oh, God. So a little at a time. So they don't even know what findability is. So I show them this, which is from Peter Morville's Search Patterns. It's one of the best. He probably didn't intend it as an SEO book, but to me it's one of the best SEOs ever written. Lou Rosenfeld just came out with a book called Search Analytics. To me, it's another one of the best SEO books ever written. to support usability and findability. Findability means multiple things. It means how do you support findability? Searching, browsing, and asking. Okay, SEO is about typing keywords in, getting a search result, and getting to the right page. It's about information sent, and it's about aboutness. Are you communicating to both humans and technology what this content is about? And if you are, then that aboutness will appear in the search results, and it will appear on the web page as well, because people follow an information sent. They also follow an information sent via browsing, and they also follow an information sent via asking. They ask their social group, and they look for validation in that way. So this is very much what SEOs do. And in a nutshell, information architects make websites easier to use. They make content easier to find. And they also, if you need quotes on how information architecture helps your business, if you have a well-architected site, you could have site links. These are called site links in Google. They're called web links in Bing and Yahoo. They actually increase click-through rate. Your navigational queries, Google will select the best categories. Sometimes Google needs a little help. We all know that. But you can actually get more clicks and getting people to the right place. It doesn't surprise me that Apple performs extremely well. And then when they land on the page, they trust you because they see those keywords and the images they expect on those pages. So these are some of the IA fundamentals that I think people need to know. And I always start with categorization because we know as information architects that content can be organized in multiple different ways, but the idea is to determine how your target audience organizes content. So they might organize it by topic. A lot of times it's a good idea to divide content via the target audience. In fact, I'm working on a huge website right now, and clearly the target audience organizes by target audience versus topic. In the National Cancer Institute and in the WebMD sites, they have a network of sites. There's websites and web pages for patients and websites and web pages for health professionals. Why? Because they use a completely different vocabulary. And I know this because my undergrad and 10 years of my life are dedicated to genetic engineering. It's a completely different way of thinking. So it's okay to divide content up differently and in multiple ways on a website. It's okay to have a sitemap or a site index. It's okay to put an alphabetical list because that's what people expect to see when they land on a dictionary page or a glossary page. Even though it's not as common, people do look for things by file type. A transactional query, a video, is a type of multimedia. Images would be classified under multimedia. And the easier you make that content available to people and the better you label it, the more likely it will be found. Problem with SEOs is they think everything needs to be organized by topic. And that's why you see so many messed up websites. And even worse, they think information architecture is using a keyword research tool, which drives me crazy because people don't go to Google to organize content. So they have the right tool, but they have the wrong use. What these keyword research tools are great for is finding out how people label things. They might not use the words you use. And that brings me to the flip side. I wish information architects, I know some SEOs are obnoxious, but sometimes they're saying something that you should really listen to. And keyword research is one of those things. Because when I went to library science school for my doctorate program, I couldn't believe that keyword data was thrown out every day. Could you imagine how much more user-friendly library science databases would be if we just took that data and analyzed it and tried to make things better for people who use libraries? So that's something SEOs got right, but they're using it for the wrong reason. So here's a page that talks about labeling. This is a navigation label. 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 Supplemental. The breadcrumb link is navigational. The heading and the subheading are all labels. Guess what? SEOs work on these labels, and so do you. Do these labels, when it's appropriate, contain keywords? And if they don't, why not? Because it contributes to the aboutness of the page, and it makes it more likely that the page will be found via querying, browsing, and asking. It doesn't mean that you have to put keywords in everything, but enough to make the page appear focused. The last thing is prioritization. What is the order you're going to present navigation labels? Because the order you present the navigation label communicates to what search engines and to humans what you think is most important. There is such thing as too many navigation links. Look at any real estate or apartment site on the web, and you'll see New York apartments, Illinois apartments, Michigan apartments, da 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 da. That's an SEO gone wild. But you still have to use the word apartments on the page. So how do you determine that? Well, to me, the best way to determine that is through usability testing that we information architects do. You don't want to put too few links on a page, because when you put too few links or orphan a page, it communicates to search engines you don't think that content's important. So one of the things that drives us crazy is to watch people put glossaries or reference materials in a pop-up window. And Google limits the types of JavaScript that they're going to crawl. So you've just taken a really good informational asset and orphaned it to a search engine. Don't do that. You also don't want too many links on a page, because the page doesn't appear focused to humans or search engines. Putting too few ways to content and too many ways to content actually makes it more difficult to find. You need to find that happy middle ground. And sure enough, the best things that you can find are at the card sorting tests that usability professionals and information architects do. This is the tough pill to swallow. Information architecture decisions affect SEO. And we SEOs hate it when you take keywords off the page. Sometimes we put them there for a reason. Okay, so what, the user doesn't use it, but the search engine uses it, and I'm not making it illegible. I'm not making it unusable, but I am making it more likely to be found and validating information sent. Don't take the word off the page. So know that the labels are important. You know, as the speaker said earlier, on the web, almost all pages on your website are a point of entry. So when you're thinking of context, think of that page as the first page a person's going to see. Have you provided them enough context? So wherever they start, they know they're in the right place, and if they're in the wrong place, they know how to get to the right place. Don't limit access to desired content. Don't orphan it. Don't stick it in a pop-up window unless it absolutely belongs, like click to view larger image. Accommodate searching behaviors. Believe it or not, when you're accommodating browsing behaviors, a lot of times you're accommodating searcher behaviors. Understand that people have navigational, transactional, and informational intent. And if you don't know what those are, learn what they are. The person who wrote this, and I can add this to the presentation for download, is Andre Broder. B-R-O-D-E-R, and Andre is A-N-D-R-E-I. And he's been writing about searcher behaviors for years. And some of your findability solutions blow up search engines. So faceted classification and adding tagging to blogs leads to duplicate content delivery. So how does that affect a search engine? Well, searchers hate duplicate content in search results. They really hate it. They do the WTF thing in the face, you know? And so search engines actively work to filter out all this duplicate content. And guess what happens? That means less pages are available to rank. Not only are less pages available to rank, your most important pages aren't available to rank. Not only in your web search engine, but not from Google, but also in your site search engine. So be very, very careful about, I'm going to use faceted classification, bring an SEO in early to help you manage that duplicate content delivery. If faceted classification is the best way to architect a site, by all means do it. But understand it could blow up in your face in terms of web search. So what am I asking of everybody? I don't expect everybody to know SEO, in a 40-minute, half-hour presentation. I don't expect that at all. I don't expect it from an hour, 2 hours, or 8 hours. What I do expect is an awareness. So I remember this morning asking, should technical people know IA? Well, yeah, I think they should. I don't think they should know it to the detail that maybe you and I know it, but they should have an awareness of it. They should know it's the organization and labeling of content. Well, I also expect you to know that search engine optimization is optimizing for people who use search engines. And just that awareness can help you build better websites. And then if you have the knowledge and you have the aptitude, you could actually do something about it. And that's why I'm showing you a faucet, because I decided that I had the same aptitude as my dad and my sister. I bought this faucet, and I love this faucet. It looks exactly like that. It's brushed nickel, it's gorgeous. And I decided I'm going to install this myself. I'm tired of asking my dad to help me all the time. Keeping in mind, my dad's a retired carpenter plumber. Okay, I would like to announce that there is a new Great Lake called Lake Shari, because I forgot to turn off the water when I installed this. Clearly, I don't have the aptitude for installing faucets, but I do have an awareness now that I'm supposed to turn off the water when I choose to install a faucet. It's the same thing I'm asking of everybody here. At least have the awareness of SEO. Don't blow everybody off just because it has a bad reputation. So the key takeaways: remember that it is optimizing for people who use search engines. Not humans only, not search engines only, humans first, search engines second, because people want what search engines want. SEO professionals do a lot of information architecture jobs that I don't think they're necessarily qualified to do. But if you work together, you'd be great. Labeling, organizing, giving access to content, and also limiting access to content. Know the 4 building blocks. Use the words and phrases people type into search engines so that people know and search engines know what each page is about. Make sure you're giving search engines user-friendly access to that content through site navigation, architecture, and page layout. That's on the page criteria. Are other people saying the same or similar things about your content that you are? That's link development. That's validation. And are you accommodating searchers' navigational, informational, and transactional goals? SEO is not something that is magical fairy dust. It's not something that's done after a site is built. Actually, a good time to bring in an SEO is during the information architecture and planning stages, because they will have some insights that you might not have otherwise thought of. The problems with SEOs, they need to understand that content is not always best organized by topic. They need to get away from keyword research tools. Keyword research tools are good for labeling, not so good for organizing content. And also, SEOs don't necessarily have the aptitude for IA. And likewise, IAs might not necessarily have the aptitude for SEO because there is a very big technical element. But that's okay. My parents still love me. They don't think I'm a bad person because I made Lake Shari. I mean, they have some really funny jokes now, but it's okay. It doesn't mean you're less valuable, because everybody has aptitudes. There are technical SEOs who couldn't write a tag if their life depended on it. And likewise, the copywriters don't know how to configure a server, but they're both equally important. I teach SEOs and people who don't have the aptitude the simplest definition I could find, and that's organizing and labeling web content to support usability and findability. Findability by browsing, findability by asking, and findability by searching. And if you do this, content's easy to use. Remember, Peter Morville said this too. They can't use it if they can't find it. These are the building blocks that I'm concerned with, particularly in SEO, organization and categorization, how you're labeling, and what is the order you're presenting these navigation labels. And here's a big quick tip. Robots exclude. Search engines don't like search results in search results. They also don't like calendars in their search results. Make sure those are filtered out. Make sure you don't serve those up to the search engines. Robots exclusion is how you do it. You do have search engine optimization responsibilities because you're in charge of labeling. Well, you might be I understand that companies let you be in charge of it, but they don't necessarily listen to you. I understand that. Understand that also on a website, most web pages are a point of entry. So pretend you're optimizing that page for somebody who's never seen it before, and you'll probably get the aboutness correct the first time. Don't orphan your pages, especially your most important pages. Don't stick them in a pop-up window. Don't stick them in a Flash. And search engines can and have followed the links in Flash for a very, very long time. That doesn't mean they do it well. And understand that some of the things you do actually make things more difficult to find from a querying perspective. Don't dismiss us as snake oil people. Don't think we can sprinkle magical fairy dust. I'd be a very filthy, bloody rich woman if it were magical fairy dust, but it's not. You learn to use the available tools SEOs have. We really love keyword research tools because they help us understand how people search, not why they search, but how people search, and they're wonderful. And if you don't look at search as a part of information architecture and say, okay, that's just adding metadata, or, oh, that's the technical teams, okay, you're hurting yourself. I'm not saying you have to know everything the technical team knows, but you should have at least have an awareness about it. And search engines, they're not that complicated. They access content, they filter out duplicates, they determine aboutness, and they deliver results. I think that's learnable. So Peter Morville, back to his quote, I thought it was very insightful that he said, I build bridges, because I agree with him. I do build bridges, but I don't make anybody cross them. So that's up to you. So before you blame Google, Google gave me crappy results. Okay, did you write a clear search query? Well, it's the tech team's fault, maybe, but did you provide clear instructions to the tech team? So make sure you understand your role in search engine optimization, just as SEOs need to understand their role in information architecture. So I write books, that's 2 of them. My next one is on information architecture. I have no idea when it's coming out. I have to get a new knee, probably after that. So thank you, and if you have any questions about SEO,